Exodus chapter 20, verse 13 reads, "Do not murder." We know that stoning and war were acceptable. So what does murder actually mean? Midbar, Numbers chapter 35, gives some insight into the commandment, do not murder. Like in verse 6, it says, "The cities you give to the Leviim are to be the 6 cities of refuge, to which you permit the person who kills someone to flee." In regard to the cities you are to give, there are to be 6 cities of refuge for you. 15 says, "These 6 cities will serve as refuge for the people of Israel, as well as for the foreigner and resident alien with them, so that anyone who kills someone by mistake may flee there. However, if he hits him," 16 I'm going on. "However, if he hits him with an iron implement and thus causes his death, he is a murderer. The murderer must be put to death. Or if he hits him with a stone in his hand big enough to kill someone and he dies, he is a murderer. The murderer must be put to death. Or if he hits him with a wood utensil in his hand capable of killing someone and he dies, he is a murderer. The murderer must be put to death. The next of kin avenger is to put the murderer to death himself. Upon meeting him, he is to put him to death. Likewise, if he shoves him out of hatred or intentionally throws something at him causing his death, or out of hostility strikes him with his hand so that he dies, then the one who struck him must be put to death. He is a murderer. And the next of kin avenger is to put the murderer to death upon meeting him. But suppose he shoves him suddenly, but without hostility, or he throws something at him unintentionally, or without seeing him, being his enemy or seeking to harm him. He throws a stone big enough to cause death, and the person dies. Then the community is to judge between the one who struck him and the next of kin avenger in accordance with these rules. And the community is to save the killer from the next of kin avenger. The community is to return him to the city of refuge to which he fled, and he is to live there until the Kohen Hagadol, who was anointed with the holy oil, dies. But if the killer ever goes beyond the limits of the city of refuge he fled to, and the next of kin avenger finds him outside the limits of his city of refuge, and the avenger kills the killer, he will not be guilty of the man's blood, because he must stay in his city of refuge until the death of the Kohen Hagadol. But after the death of the Kohen Hagadol, the killer may return to the land he owns. These things shall constitute your standard for judgment through all your generations, wherever you live. If anyone kills someone, the murderer is to be put to death upon the testimony of witnesses, but the testimony of only one witness will not suffice to cause a person to be put to death. Also, you are not to accept a ransom in lieu of the life of a murderer condemned to death. Rather, he must be put to death. Likewise, you are not to accept for someone who has fled to his city of refuge a ransom that would allow him to return to his land before the death of the Kohen. Oh, so if you take a life on purpose, you are a murderer, and the price is your life. ChallengingPerceptions.org. Challenging godlessness in the church with biblical perceptions.